Hey everyone, my name is Riley DeBacher. I am one of the International Challenge Masters for the Engineering Challenge this year. April unfortunately wasn't able to join us, but hopefully I'll be able to get through answering all your questions here as we get ready for Global Finals 2023. So jumping into this video, we're going to take a moment just to kind of go through some things that are easily missed that we want to make sure that you have a chance to know and come prepared for as you get ready for Global Finals. So these are all taken, to start with, the overlooked requirements here are taken from what we've included in the team manager letter. If you haven't checked that out yet, that is going to be your best friend, and I'm going to refer to it a couple times here. So I strongly recommend checking that out after you finish up this video here. But just to run through really quickly some of the overlooked requirements that we included there. We had some questions this year about paper plates and cups specifically. So we wanted to make sure that folks know they will not meet the requirements indicated in section B for this challenge, and so can't be used for the launching mechanism or roller coaster. Speaking of the roller coaster, your roller coaster must have a clearly marked start and end point as indicated in the challenge. And when you come into the roller coaster check-in area, your team's required to have already set up your pre-measured strings that are labeled for each part. So taking a look, we've indicated each of the sections that challenge requirement comes in from. And I encourage you, if any of that sounds like new information, to check in on those sections and just make sure you're all ready to go heading into the challenge here. The last two overlooked requirements we included, one is that roller coaster tests will be unsuccessful if the assembled coaster extends beyond the vertical planes marked by the outside of the 6 foot by 6 foot tape area. And so what that means is the outside of that taped area is the margin for where your roller coaster can sit. And if anything, even if the base of a roller coaster sits within that area, but part of it kind of leans outside, then it's outside of that taped area, and that's going to be an unsuccessful roller coaster test attempt. So to avoid that, just make sure everything fits within kind of that imagined vertical plane that extends up from that tape. And speaking of the assembled roller coaster and testing it during your challenge, any parts that you go to check in and are determined to be invalid, that don't meet the requirements of the challenge, cannot be included in an assembled roller coaster that's tested during your performance. You can check out section K1 for a little bit more information about that. All right, and for published clarifications, this year we did have two, one that was published back in October and one that was published in January of this year. Both of the text of these is listed on the slide, and hopefully you saw as they came out and through the website. So take a look through those and make sure that your team meets the definitions here for corrugated cardboard that can be included in the roller coaster or launching mechanism, and for, again, having the string that's placed on each roller coaster part reflect the actual length of the track along which the golf ball will travel during the challenge. But it wasn't just kind of our pre-known information that we wanted to talk about during this video. And so there were a couple questions that you all had submitted that we wanted to take a second to answer. The first couple that we got that we want to talk about are dimensions of the doors and elevators. And I'm going to point everyone that has questions about the size of doors or elevators or the ceiling of the room and those other dimensions to check out that team manager letter that I was talking about earlier. All the good details that you can count on are going to be there. And then for both that and the 6 foot by 6 foot roller coaster square location, that taped area and where will it be, we're going to be dealing with that in some more specifics when we do our walkthrough video of the site. Unfortunately, I can't do a very good walkthrough from here in Oregon, and so we'll be doing that when we get on site in Kansas City. So watch for that video that should be posted before we start off the competition in the next week or so here. We will, taking taking a look at our next one here, sorry. What is the roller coaster check-in procedure? Again, we're gonna walk through kind of some of the specific stops along the way, and you'll be able to see kind of where those locations will be for your team when we do our site walkthrough video. But for the basics, it should look really similar to what it's been at your other tournaments. You'll be stopping in at a pre-prep area, which might be new for global finals. But then from there, your whole team will just be going into the check-in area about an hour before your performance is scheduled to begin to check in the roller coaster. And from there, everyone on your team will take all of your props and your costumes and your roller coaster parts and move straight from check-in into the prep area and then into your performance space. So that flow should look really similar to what you've done up to this point, just with that kind of added step of pre-prep to make sure you can get from the prop storage area down to where you're going. Can things be disassembled and reassembled to fit through doorways into the presentation site? Absolutely. Your team can modify things, disassemble and reassemble things to transport them as much as you need. The one thing that you can't do is pre-assemble your roller coaster inside of the prep area. That will have to be done inside of the taped area during the performance time. And then lastly, are freestanding team signs required for global finals? And the answer to this is the rules of the road indicate that all teams should have a freestanding team sign that can identify them. And that's because it's going to be easier for the appraisers and for the audience to know who you are while you're performing if we've got a sign that can remind us of that and double check that we've got the right people in front of us. But there won't be any deductions or penalties to your team specifically for not having that sign. I hope that helped clear some things up. If you've got some more questions, hopefully you can get those answered before we get started. And we're really excited to see you when we have the tournament in Kansas City in just a couple weeks here. Have a good one.